And just like this, it's time for our first garden tour again. Welcome to our first garden tour. It is first weekend of June when we're recording this, and there are a lot of things to see. There will be more things to see probably in 4 weeks from now, but I figured it's nice enough to already show you a few things. We're here in our driveway garden where I have the potatoes and a few berry plants, some roses, and our overflow lot where a few squashes are now planted and hopefully some watermelons are coming up. But as you can tell here, our blueberry shrub is doing fantastic. We have hopefully a good year of blueberries on this one. Actually, I think it's an excellent year for any kind of berries. Our raspberry bush over there is also packed with raspberries. And when you see our strawberry patch, you won't believe it, I might be able to make jam this year. So, yeah. What is also great is we have finally all potatoes coming up. I was concerned about 2 bags, the one on the corner and one over here, but they finally peeked through. So we have here potatoes going on in every pot again, which is beautiful. So stay tuned for harvest videos in like 2 months from now. So the one thing which is not going so well, and I have no good explanation for why, is that blueberry plant. I think its flowers were a little bit too far compared to this one when we had this really cold night a few weeks ago. So I think it just got buzzed in that frost, but which is kind of weird on the other hand because blueberries are so frost hardy. So I'm not sure fully what it's doing. Otherwise, it looks healthy and happy, except that it's not bearing any fruit. Oh well, it's like, feels like that one is making up for both of them. Then we have here our beautiful and lush herb corner. The sage and the thyme and everything. I didn't know that tarragon can perennialize, but it's now coming back for the 3rd year. The oregano looks really great. And then what I always have to plant is like rosemary that just doesn't make it through the winter here. And then we have here the driveway slope, which is freshly mulched. You see, this was the project of like hopefully getting a little bit of erosion control. So what I did was I was leaving a little bit more milkweed behind, which looks beautiful right now. I know some people don't like it. I do, especially when it starts blooming. It's gorgeous. And as we all know, it's there for the pollinators. So, and I planted some native mountain mint over here as well because that spreads quite well and wide, and I love to use it as fillers for our bouquets in a few weeks from now. So I'm looking forward to having this as well. Let's come in the garden. So clearly the stars of the shows in late May or early June are my peonies. This is, I forgot the name, it was a Shirley something, right? Yeah, Shirley Temple peony, which I have now for the 4th year. I had a few ones which like, I don't know, like didn't develop, which was weird. That was the first time I saw it, but everything else seems happy and healthy, so it's whatever. But those bloom sizes, I mean, just look at it. Hands for measure. So really, really beautiful. And one thing which is also really interesting is this is a snapdragon, also for the 3rd year in a row now, kind of perennialized in here, and that was going to bloom soon. My lavender is just starting. If you saw my video on how I hacked those ones back, you can see here how well they got back and flushed back from this sad little clump I left there. We have also a couple of roses in there, which just getting started. Oh no, they only, oh, on the bottom, it's already blooming. Hey, let me come over there. This is a, Nicole Carol Muller. This beautiful purpley, like purple edges, and it gets darker when it ages. And it smells really good. Not yet. This just opened today. I haven't seen it before, but you can see here it's packed. This is going to look spectacular in a week or 2 from now. Same with the climbing rose, which I want to train on the fence to populate the fence a little bit. This one is packed as well. And when we go to the other side quickly, you can still see here a few of my alliums, although they're on the way out. They were early this year. Typically they're blooming like, they're more in flush bloom together with the peonies, but they're already a little bit out. Although I love them in any stage. They're just such a whimsical touch. This is in sherbet peonies. This has the most beautiful scent. This also started to bloom a lot earlier than my white one. So we have already a few spent blooms on this one. And this is something what I gotta address when it's done blooming, but my lilies kind of spread here very prominent into this bed, although I love them. So I probably will cut them in half and position the other ones somewhere else, but they are going to be pretty in probably 3-4 weeks from now. Probably 3 weeks. Yep. And then, ooh, the other one, which is almost in bloom now too. This is a Crazy Love rose, and I'm so happy how it bushed out this year. I had last year just like 2 very, very sad sticks coming up, and I was this year a little bit more radical in how I cut them back so that the new canes really flushed out nicely. And here same thing, like so packed with blooms. And the cutie one in the middle, which I forgot the name from, I gotta look at that tag up, I got it last year. It's just such a really, really cute little landscaping rose. So when the alliums are done and the lilies in the front, you can actually see it again. And before we go to the main garden, you gotta take a closer look to the strawberry patch here. This is unbelievably loaded with strawberries. For the very first year, they're still all green, but I hope they will come up in 2-3 weeks from now. June is usually strawberry month, and yeah, I think this year we're finally enough to make a batch of jam. Onto the garden. All right, just as orientation, all beds which you can see here are all vegetable beds, and the large Ls which shape up this garden, those are my cut flower beds. And this year's orientation, or this year's structure, is the small cut flower L in the beginning. This is where I plant all my dahlias, and then the other one is like filler plants, everything I grow from seed, plus a few dahlias because I had some more space there. So this is going to be extremely gorgeous, probably for the next garden tour in 4 weeks from now. So do not forget to subscribe to not miss that one. But let's look a little bit over here to my peas. This is a little bit of a sad story because you can tell there are not many peas in here because, oh, let me see if we can get them on. Because the neighbor houses a family of groundhogs under this white ugly container. So, and they went in and ravaged probably like half of my peas, and I looked at them for a little while. It was pretty much the other side, so from this side it looks still bushy, but I ripped them out. I looked at them for a week or two, but it was just not enough. But we still get a few peas, as you can tell, and we'll enjoy them, but definitely not as many as I wanted. But that gave me the chance to transplant the squashes and the cucumbers a little bit earlier. They are clearly more happy in those beds than they were in the little containers I started them in. So all good news and bad news as it goes in gardening. So you got to live with the punches. And this is also the reason why everything is fenced in right now. We have like everything, literally everything fenced in. They even went into the tomatoes, which I always thought nobody would chew tomatoes because they are nightshades, but they took some bites out of it. So everything got fenced in. But so far, knock on wood, that seems to deter them. Here I have my little lettuce bar that got also wiped by the groundhogs, but luckily I had already succession seeded, and you can see here, those were the Tegan variety from row 7, which I literally had one head of this for dinner, and that night they went into the lettuce bar, so I could enjoy one out of the ones which I grew to full size. So I'm looking forward to get those ones. And I have some onions here around them as well, just to use the space a little bit better. But this is this year our lettuce bar, and I hope to keep it going. In the summer, I probably put like a little bit of a shade cloth over it to just give it some relief from the heat. But so far, they're really doing well. I have some Zelenova Green Crisp in here, and then the other ones which are a little bit stealth with the mulch, it's the red butter from Zelenova as well. And they're all like really, really lovely head lettuces, which I love. And a few ones. Yep, and you can see here some portions are mulched, some are not. I mulched the ones which have a little bit more soil exposure just for water efficiencies and water management, so, and pest management to some extent. If you have been following me last year already for the garden tours, you remember that this was the squash side. I always like to flip them just to have some sort of crop rotation. So this year we're back to the paste tomatoes and hot pepper aisle, plus the cherry tomatoes on the front, which will grow up over the arch and populate the arch here. At the moment, it kind of looks a little bit squishy, or too many plants in that small bed. But from the moment the cherry tomatoes go up, it gets a lot more, it gets a lot better for the plants here. So, and the peppers are doing great. So we have here jalapenos and some poblanos. And yes, it's our spicy department. We don't really eat spicy. So, and when we go here to this tomato bed and pepper bed, and a little bit of eggplant and a little bit of ground cherries, they look fantastic. Probably for the next 1 or 2 weeks until the pests all find them, right? How it always goes with garden. Like the first week of June, everything looks so flourishing, and then somehow all the pests come in. What we have here are 6 indeterminate varieties, the heirloom varieties, which grow up the string. Those are the ones who get really, really tall. And then we have 3 more paste varieties, because that's how we're using tomatoes the most, like in tomato sauce. Love to make salsa, all of that. But I also love a good tomato sandwich. We still have some of the heirlooms ones here, and I'm really excited. So like Cherokee Purple, Black Crim, 2 new to me varieties from Johnny's, which are Harvest Moon and Mountain Magic. All of them look really, really beautiful so far, and can't wait to see them. I got them a little bit pruned yesterday on the bottom, so they're like putting on growth like nobody's business. And then we have around them peppers and a couple eggplants and a few basils tucked in here and there. So we have like shishito peppers, the patchwork pepper from row 7, which I love to grow. Yeah, so just a little nice menagerie over there. And then we're coming here to my garlic. As you can tell, the garlic is very close to being done. On this side, there are larger varieties than on this side, as you can clearly tell. But what you can see here as well is we are having already garlic scapes coming out. And that will be probably the next video to harvest garlic scapes and what I love to do with them. So we might make a pasta together. We'll see. So they are usually, I harvest my garlic around July 4th weekend, plus minus a week, depending on the weather. And it's for me like typically 4 weeks from when I harvest the scapes. And yeah, and then this bed will be flipped on this side already to edamame, and the onions are looking good, most of them, except for a few stranglers, starting to put up some real growth as well and look really, really good. They will take longer. They will take into mid-August probably. So this, yeah. But you should have seen how stressed they went in there. So I'm actually really pleased that most of them are turning out well. So whew, that is something what I can really like just encourage you. Even when you think your seedlings look sad, don't look great, are unhappy, just plant them anyway. Mother Nature in a lot of cases just takes good care of them. So do not underestimate that. And then here the other one. I gotta say, I already did what I didn't want it to do, but I planted 2 center squash again instead of 1. But we'll see. Our big squashes, which I love very much, until they get overboard, because last year we harvested 150 pounds out of 2 plants and 88 fruits. And they're like, if you have struggled growing zucchinis because of the dang squash vine borer, this is a variety to go. It tastes better, it fries better, it pickles like cucumbers. This is the excuse I have why I am growing 2 again, to really make delicious pickles, because they make some badass bread and butter pickles. And then here we have just 2 cucumbers. At the moment there are 4, but I'll decide who will live and who will not in the very near future. And some basil again, because you can never have enough basil. And over there, I skipped this year any type of bush beans in favor of this beautiful pole bean, which is just one variety which I enjoyed the most last year. And this is it's called the shell pole bean. It's a beautiful stringless green bean, which is perfection, and is also very forgiving if you harvested it like 1 or 2 days later after peak. So can highly recommend that one. All right, so here I'm super happy to see my yarrow finally doing great. Last year, the bunnies or the groundhogs, or both of them, went into it before I had a chance to fence it. And some went into it here as well, I noticed, but they will be fine. Most of it will hopefully bloom just nicely, but they have really bushed in, and they're a perennial here, so I can't wait to see them bloom. What I didn't know but came back in a vengeance was the feverfew as well, which I'm excited to see. This is very, very close to bloom. Those will be gorgeous. I love a good number of filler plants, as you can see here on the side, which we'll go through. I have some self-seeded Ami, which I'm letting grow, and a few purple Ami, so we'll see about that. And finally, my Lisianthus is growing up nicely. This is one of the sad plants I planted. You should have seen those very, very sad and tortured seedlings, because we had like in winter trouble with like basement floods and stuff. So we had very, very drastically changing temperature varieties in the basement, and they hate that. They love consistency, and we had no consistency at all in the winter. So they got grumpy on me and barely grew. They were my smallest Lisianthus I ever put out. But here you can see them thriving, and I'm sure they will bloom gorgeously. What is always thriving for me, and don't ask me what I do, they just grow extremely well for me, are snapdragons, and we have already some in bloom. That is a lavender, I think, or maybe that's the pink. I would need to look at labels, but anyway, the snapdragons are coming in hot and coming in beautiful. Then I have here a few status, which got chomped down by the groundhog, but is coming back better than I expected it, because now I feel a little bit bad. I got from my garden friends a couple extra seedlings, 2 asters and 2, I forgot what you guys were, scabiosa. And yeah, they might be a little cramped, but we'll see. We'll write it out. And then we have here my mixed basil patch from my ornamental basil. As you know, basil is one of my favorite filler plants. This here is my favorite, the lemon basil, the blue spice. This is new. This is from Johnny's, the Aromado. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, because it kind of looks, I don't know what you guys think. It looks like not healthy, but that's the color it's supposed to be. It looks like speckled. I'm not sure. We'll see about that. The verdict is not out yet. And then some cinnamon basil, which I'm growing for the first time, but most of it is here my lemon basil, which I love. And then we have a little bit of celosia. So this is the celosia varieties from Floret, where I have a few more seeded over there, because it didn't do so well for me from seed, but that was more my neglect on how I seeded them. So no shade on the Floret seeds there. It was all my mishandling. And then we start here our zinnia patch. Those are my classic zinnia varieties, the Queen Lime Green and the Queen Lime Blush, which are my favorite varieties from like the classic varieties. A few Cosmos, and they are doing fantastic. They will need, we gotta get the netting up here soon to start supporting them. And all of this, which you're looking at here, are all floret zinnia varieties. And you can see most of them I pinched already, so that's why they're looking a little bit wild. They're like sprouting out of all areas. But yeah, come back in 4 weeks and we'll have probably already some really nice blooms. They have been fantastic. They have been thriving compared to those ones. Fun fact, when my brother watched the planting video, he was very convinced that I bought those pretty seedlings and not that I grew them. But yeah, they will look really, really great soon, and I hope I spaced them sufficiently so they get all a little bit of space which they need. This is where I seeded a little bit more celosia, and they're starting to come up, but they're too small to see, so let's not bother here. And this is all my new dahlia varieties I'm growing this year, except for those two. But basically every variety which we're seeing here is just one variety. Like every one coming up is just one variety, and I hope they're all producing really, really nice tubers. We have still two which are just peeking through, but most of them are, yeah, already a little bit further. I think I have, across all dahlias, I think I'm just missing 5 tubers to see 5 tubers right now coming to sprout. But yeah. And then the other star of the show, which is going to pop any minute, probably in the next week, is here my Bathsheba climbing rose. And if you saw how I pruned it back in my rose pruning video, I went hard on this one too, and I can't believe how much it bushed out. So I'm very confident it will like populate the arch this year really, really beautiful. And what I'm also going to do is I'll let it bloom and let the bloom come through, because literally on every on every top here is a bunch of flower buds, like all over, like I don't know, hard to guess, but 50 or so just on this one plant. So I'll let it bloom out, and then I'll give it a little bit more of a haircut and a trim to, number one, navigate it over, but also to provide it some airflow, because at the moment it's really dense and roses are disease prone, so you want to make sure you give them airflow. Great. And then this one is not that spectacular yet, but it will be in the next show, I'll promise you. So you can see here all my little dahlias sprouting. And then the two which look different than the others. This one has been tortured by some slugs around here, and I probably cut it up because this is a tuber which I didn't want to grow this year. It overwintered. Same as this one, but this is doing a lot better, so I don't like to have problems sitting in it. And this is a tuber as well, which just started to grow from an overwintered dahlia. So far, all the tubers are left in the ground, all overwintered, which is kind of wild, which should not happen in our area and in our climate. But it does now. So I'm not sure if I would gamble to leave them all in. Probably not my precious varieties, but maybe I will leave a few in to save me some work in November. We'll see. So I hope you enjoyed our very first garden tour. There are many, many more to come. I always try to be like in a 4-week time frame, because this is when you really see the garden leap forward. Typically, we'll see how weather, time, and life in general will go along with this plan. But in general, we are able to do that in this way. And yeah, I can't wait for my flowers to come back to have real bouquets. I can already start with the snapdragons there, but you know how it will look, or you can imagine how it will look in just a few weeks from now. So I'm really, really excited. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions regarding any of my varieties, of what I grow, or what you want to see next time in a garden tour of mine. Otherwise, subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.